Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, I get it. See you later, man. Just received a call from Professor Oak. It looks like Ash is not the only Ketchum who got replaced, because we got a new hottest Pokemon in town, baby!
Pokemon Ranger! I choose you!
What's up, my dear boys and girls, it's your Ranger Boy here, and welcome to another review of Pokemon Horizons. And sadly, this will be my last review for a while, since we will be entering a 3-week break. So how exactly are we going to end Horizons before that? Well, if you want to know more, then grab some popcorn, grab some cookies, and let's do this. So the anime continues where we left off, with our heroes witnessing the destruction of the forest. And after Freed was finally able to reach Liko and Roy, together with Orla, Ludlow, oh my god, he's finally relevant, and Aboliver, they restore the forest. And that, my dear boys and girls, was 10 minutes out of a 20-minute episode. No, seriously. But as soon as we hit the 10-minute mark, things finally get a little bit more interesting. After the restoration of the forest, Likos' pendant seems to react to Aboliver's presence. The unknown turtle Pokemon appears once again, and soon both Liko and Roy are transported into an illusion, with an unknown figure, aka the ancient adventurer, pleading for someone to find something. The illusion ends, Aboliver enters the ancient Pokeball and joins the gang? What the heck? And while all of this is happening, it seems like one of the elite trainers of the explorers, Spinel, aka Amifio's rival, observes them gleefully from a far distance. Still confused by what he just witnessed, Reed went to a nearby library in search for some clues, but with no success in sight, he lets out his frustration, resulting in new hot Pokemon Luca appearing and telling our professor to stay quiet while being in a library. The anger! By the way, some people were a bit let down by the Ash, Serena, Liko daughter theory not coming true, which, come on guys, that theory has been debunked since episode 1 of Horizons. Speaking of Liko, she received some of her father's storybooks as a present for Roy, and naturally the energetic boy is very excited. But that excitement quickly turns into shock after finding out that Liko's father is indeed the author of all the stories Roy knows about in regards of the ancient adventurer. Finally, we get some much needed background story and lore in regards of that, and it goes like this. Ancient adventurer, aka Lucius, was followed by Black Rayquaza. He's traveled with Black Rayquaza through every region, befriended strong Pokemon, later known as the 6 Heroes, heading towards the end of the world, finding paradise, living happily ever after. Again, what the heck? Then we return back to Luca and Freed, who seemingly also recalled the fairy tale we just saw. But as soon as Freed mentioned the pendant incident with Liko, Luca's expression changes. She then tells Freed that despite being Liko's mom, she also doesn't know anything about the pendant, and that Freed should go and search for Liko's grandma. And as soon as those words left her mouth, the squawkabilly on her shoulders, which also seems to be associated with Liko's grandma, shouts the words Galar region, and Old Castle into the sky. Before she leaves, Luca decides to not take the pendant from Liko as intended, but instead let Liko decide for herself what to do. Liko and the others then decide to go after her grandma next, so off to Galar we go. And the episode ends with Spinel of the Explorers finishing his analysis and then decides to finally make a move on our heroes. And that's the episode. Impressions? Like always, we will talk about both the good and the not so good things in this episode, starting off with the positives. Overall, the episode seems to be more of a setup for future events. Not only Roy, but also Liko herself will work together to find the legendary 6 Heroes of Lucius, with 2 of them being both Aboliver and Rayquaza. This not only lets Liko support Roy in his overall goal, but also lets her do something while also trying to find out more about the pendant. Of course, said pendant is her main quest right now, which is also why her next mission is to find her grandma, and strangely enough, that results in us already leaving the Paldea region and make a return to the Galar region. In my opinion, this sudden change in location is somewhat a positive, because it seems like Horizons tries to do what we all expected from Journeys, that we have little mini arcs in one region, and as soon as the arc is over, we enter another region and therefore another mini regional arc. It kind of feels like the writers did realize how much they fucked up with Journeys, and with Horizons they want to redeem themselves by actually doing it properly this time. Speaking of Galar, they also mention an old castle, and the only castle building in Galar is Raihan's gym. And with that in mind, unless there's another unknown castle in Galar, we might see Raihan again. And that could open up the possibility of Ash becoming canon in Horizons, or at least being acknowledged. Not only was Raihan's gym the main location of the Darkest Day arc, which was solved by both Ash and Go, but Raihan was also the last opponent of Ash before entering the Masters 8. Sure, even if Raihan appears, there's no reason for him to even mention Ash or the Pokemon World Championships, because there is no reason to do so. But it could be possible, and as soon as the possibility of Ash being canon is there, trust me, the videos about oh my god, Ash returns in Horizons will be flooding your recommendations. Another positive is that we finally get to see the Explorers again, and I like Spinel's approach here. Instead of attacking them directly like Amifu did in the past, he's the more cold, scheming and calculating kind of guy who hides in the shadows before making his move, and I honestly really like the contrast between him and Amifu. Sadly, following this episode's nature, we will quickly move on, in this case, to the negatives. Last week's story was a bit boring, and unfortunately the continuation of the story is still the same. Very boring. I'm not saying that the story surrounding Aboliver was bad, but it was rather uneventful. I mean, come on, during the recap I skipped 10 minutes of the episode, so that tells you a lot. Next up, Likos' mom Luca. And man, we expected so much of her. She was the one who hired the Rising World Tacklers to retrieve Liko and Dependent, so a lot of fans, including myself, assumed that she knows some stuff about Dependent and the Explorers, and that she would also oppose Likos' desire for adventure for the sake of her own safety. But instead of knowledge and conflict, we get nothing. She's hot as hell, but first of all, she knows nothing at all in regards of Dependent, at least from what it looks like, and she just freely lets her daughter go on dangerous missions without any care. On the one hand, I kinda like this free-spirited nature of hers, and I do appreciate that she acknowledges Likos' feelings to decide on her own, but on the other hand, she didn't really act like a mother at all, especially after all the efforts she did to get Liko back, only to just let her go so easily. Last but not least, Lucius, aka the Ancient Adventurer. We finally get some more lore in terms of the legendary hero, but just like always, it's both very vague, with no details at all, and also a bit generic. I really hope that the vagueness is on purpose, because oh boy, the whole Black Rayquaza story is still not my jam. So in short, very uneventful episode, and that's totally fine because it was a setup episode after all. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this review. What's your opinion? Tell me, and just like always, see you guys in the comments down below.